Now, ever since the debut of SNL's 50th anniversary and how Tom Hanks portrayed a Trump supporter and how that completely backfired on not just his career, but also the showrunners over at NBC, including executive producer Lorne Michaels. We already discussed how Lorne Michaels had to step in to really take advantage of the situation, to really actually take action toward the entire scenario by canceling many different skits that Tom Hanks was supposed to be involved in when it came to SNL. And this is where things begin to really erupt, because a lot of film industry studios right now are beginning to really back away from many A-list stars and many actors and actresses in general that engage in too much activism, engage in too much politics, and dragging that into their films, into their television programs, and it's really beginning to backfire. And based on the general public really pushing back, right? Really showing that backlash and really making their voices clear. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Tom Hanks is that we know that in recent days he has been engaging in a lot of damage control. He himself has been trying to really kind of protect his overall image as a Trump supporter on SNL's 50th. He's really trying to defend this thing through and through, even though it really came from a very bad place. Not just from him, but everybody else over at NBC, and how they really truly lost tens of millions of fans, whether it was NBC's SNL, or whether it was Tom Hanks himself as an actor. And this is where it only gets worse, is that we know that there are a lot of studios out there that no longer want to deal with actors like this, that engage too much in politics, that really are doing this in a sense to really shoehorn their agenda to the general public that is either disguised as comedy or disguised as art, and vice versa. However, interestingly enough, ever since the SNL 50th anniversary debut with Tom Hanks portraying a Trump supporter that backfired on his career and NBC, one monumental development going on now involves more to do with Tom Hanks and how he was recently fired by a studio from a massive project as a direct result of the growing backlash after what he did on SNL. It turns out that Tom Hanks was set to take part in a politically driven film by Warner Brothers that was set to focus on a fictional president set in the near future that was aimed to reflect on the world today. Now, this was a film that was being put together by Warner Brothers, ironically the very same studio that decided to ditch and cancel Robert De Niro, George Clooney, and among other actors. CEO David Zaslav and the many studio heads over at Warner Brothers decided to take quick action in the aftermath of the SNL backlash, as more and more studios within Hollywood are doing whatever it takes to better their image by focusing on less actors getting involved in activism and also getting too involved in actual politics that backfire on their image as well. Now, it turns out after the SNL 50th anniversary backlash was considered a record-breaking moment for NBC, and not in a good way at that, WB decided to fire Tom Hanks from this project specifically altogether, as they look to do a recast for the character, which is described to be for a fictional president, like I said before. Tom Hanks was reportedly devastated over this news that was just handed over to his agent and manager a couple of days ago, as Warner Brothers is looking to no longer associate, get this, with A-list stars that get too caught up in politics and political issues by alienating tens of millions of Americans. Also, the fact that this was set to feature Tom Hanks as a fictional president in his older years, David Zaslav knew that this was going to flop on a massive scale if it featured Tom Hanks after his recent rants about MAGA and his portrayal of a Trump supporter on SNL. Now guys, let me just stop here for one moment. Now, it's one thing to sure get rid of Tom Hanks, but I don't think that Warner Brothers is doing enough here. I think that they still have some kind of an agenda in play with this new mystery project that is set to debut in 2027, focusing on obviously a fictional president in the coming years, and how it's going to reflect on the world today. So, like I pointed that out earlier, that's obviously something that Warner Brothers wants to go for, and as well as many other studios have tried to do before in the past, and it failed. We know that Robert De Niro tried to do something similar with Zero Day. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but that really did not work out well for him as well. And he's got another actual project coming out this month, Robert De Niro, is The Alto Nights by WB. This is basically his last mobster film with WB after they decided to cancel him and just get rid of the guy. But focusing on Hanks, alright, this is exactly when you know that the backlash is not coming from a minority and that it is not hype to any degree. It truly came from a majority of American citizens that saw what they saw on SNL, and they all saw right through it that it was coming from a bad place. It was nothing more than a piece of comedy disguised as an agenda, or an agenda disguised as comedy, like I always say, right? Better way to put it there. When you look at everything like this, though, is that there's a lot of things going on with Tom Hanks. Now, look, we already know that he's trying to get some roles here and there, and some haven't really worked out for different reasons, but in this one, in isolation, this is all rooted to his backlash from what he did on SNL's 50th anniversary. Moving on. Now, Tom Hanks already and reportedly feels offended and as if he was discriminated for expressing his politics, and is desperately attempting to reverse WB's action to regain the role of a fictional president for this new film that is currently codenamed New Dawn. The film is intended to drop in theaters by 2027 during the fall of that year, that will now no longer feature Tom Hanks after he was let go from the project suddenly. Whether or not, however, this will change the course of the film's success remains a complete mystery. However, Hanks is still continuing to engage in damage control with the public after his SNL debut and portraying a Trump supporter that truly led to millions of fans leaving him as an actor. Now, David Zaslav, the WB CEO, and the entire WB board reportedly had a very even agreement about booting Tom Hanks from the project, debating that it would be way too risky to leave him on with this whopping $250 million film project, as this film, so to speak, focuses to be around a 3-hour movie focusing on politics that are still aiming to take shots at, get this, Trump's politics. So it seems like WB still has an agenda there at the same exact time. They just knew that putting Tom Hanks in the mix would have probably really made things all the more worse. It would have made things way worse than they already are. And I think at the end of the day, you're not going to see this movie. It's not going to see the light of day. I can see this thing just getting scrapped in like 6 months or maybe even a year maximum from now, where it's just not going to move forward in development, because WB and among other studios out there that really are just pushing this political nonsense, it's not in agreement with the general public. Nobody cares about that. People want to actually escape reality. They want pure entertainment. They want to have fun, and that's what it really all boils down to. So again, do I think that David Zaslav made a good call to a degree? Yes, but at the same exact time, he's kind of being hypocritical, because this is still a movie with an agenda attached to it, and I'm not really all that shocked. It seems like that some of these studios are doing it in a very, hypocritical way, where they say, yeah, we're getting rid of an agenda, but we're not really, we're just minimizing the agenda, is what it really equals out to, what it really translates to, right? So Tom Hanks, again, after the whole debacle with SNL and Lorne Michaels and everything else going on behind the scenes over there, after the backlash exploded, after how he portrayed Trump supporters, it's not looking good in the least for Tom Hanks and his career. Kind of similar to what happened with George Clooney, right? But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.